My child, listen closely. Something has just happened that you were never meant to see, at least not yet. Someone, a person you know, a person whose life has been tightly woven with yours in ways you still do not fully understand, has done something shocking. Something no one expected. Something that instantly shifted the spiritual atmosphere around you. No, my child, it wasn't a celebration post, it wasn't a family picture, nor a harmless announcement. What they placed online was far heavier, far stranger, and far more dangerous than anything they have ever shared before. Because this person posted their entire will. Yes, my child. Not a paragraph. Not a snippet. Not a line or two for documentation. They released the entire will into the public space. And when the world saw it, many were confused, some were fascinated, but heaven saw something you need to understand: your name was written inside it. Not as a visitor. Not as a random mention. Not as a distant option. But as the successor. My child, do you see the weight of what I am telling you? Do you understand the magnitude of this moment? You were chosen. Chosen to inherit something enormous. Chosen to continue a legacy that took decades to build. Chosen to step into a space that others have been fighting, plotting, and competing for behind closed doors. You were selected to carry forward what they poured their entire existence into. But before you allow excitement to fill your heart, before you start wondering what this inheritance means, before you begin imagining the blessings and doors that will open, I need to warn you. Because by placing their will online, publicly, openly, vulnerably, they have done something dangerous. Not only for themselves, but for you as well. The moment that post went live, a door opened. A spiritual door. A physical door. A door of attention that was never meant to be touched. People saw your name, my child. People who should never have known. People who carry jealousy, bitterness, hunger for power. People who have been waiting for a chance to strike. And that post gave them exactly what they were waiting for. So now you cannot walk away. You cannot ignore this moment. You cannot pretend this post is just another strange event. Because everything began shifting the moment the world saw that will. But what led to this? Why did they choose you? What moment pushed them to make such a reckless decision? What truth did they discover that forced their hand, that made them expose everything publicly? To reveal that, my child, we need to go backward, just a little. To the moment where this entire storm began forming. Because it didn't start with the post. It didn't start with the will. It didn't even start with their decision to name you as the successor. It started hours before the world saw anything. Hours earlier, this person sat alone in a dimly lit room. The curtains were only half pulled, allowing soft, fading evening light to spill across the floor. Outside, the wind shifted through the trees, brushing shadows across the walls like silent warnings. They were alone, yes. But their heart was full of noise, memories, regrets, concerns, fear, and the pressure of a decision they never thought they would have to make. They held their phone loosely in their hand, staring out of the window, replaying months of strange encounters, unsettling conversations, and moments of unexplainable tension. Because deep down, they felt something was wrong. Something was creeping closer. Something had been watching them. Their chest felt tight. Their thoughts raced. And then, their phone buzzed. A message came through. A message that changed the entire course of your life. They didn't receive it from a friend. Not from a family member. Not from someone who wished them well. The message came from a person they had hired quietly and secretly, someone who does not appear in their contacts, someone no one else knows about. A private investigator. But why would they hire one? Why were they digging? Why were they searching? Why were they moving in silence? Because something had nearly taken their life not long ago. A night they never talked about. A night they brushed off as an accident, but their spirit told them it wasn't. They escaped, but barely. And from that night onward, fear became their shadow. They needed answers. They needed truth. They needed clarity. And this message brought it. The moment their eyes scanned the text, their entire world cracked open. What they read wasn't just concerning. It wasn't just shocking. It wasn't just painful. It was devastating. Because the investigator discovered something far worse than old enemies. The threat came from people they trusted. People they had helped. People they lifted. People they believed would protect their legacy. But instead, these were the very people planning their downfall. And in that moment of heartbreak and betrayal, in the instant their spirit shattered from the weight of deception, they made a decision. They decided to rewrite everything. They decided to choose someone who wasn't poisoned with jealousy. Someone who wasn't corrupted by greed. Someone who wouldn't stab them in the back. Someone with a heart they trusted. And that someone was you, my child. But this is only the beginning. There is more you must understand. More you must see. More truth still hidden beneath the surface. And in the next part, I will reveal what was truly written in that message, the very words that made them put your name in the will, take a picture of it, and post it for the world to see. My child, now that you understand the moment when everything shifted, let me pull you deeper into the truth they uncovered, the truth that forced their hand and drove them to take a step so extreme, so irreversible, that it shook both the physical and spiritual realms surrounding your life. Remember, they were sitting in that quiet room, the soft evening light fading, the weight of months pressing onto their shoulders. The phone buzzed. And that single message changed the very direction of their destiny, and yours. Their fingers trembled slightly as they unlocked their screen. They opened the message, expecting an update, a simple report, maybe even reassurance. But that is not what they received. The first line of the message froze them. The second line stole the breath from their lungs. By the third line, their entire world collapsed. Because the investigator did not send a vague suspicion. They did not send a theory. They did not send a hint. They sent undeniable proof. Recorded conversations. Screenshots of encrypted messages. Bank transfers that made no sense. Secret meetings hidden behind innocent excuses. And the worst part. It was all planned by the very people they once trusted with their life. These were not strangers. Not random faces. Not distant rivals. These were the ones they had been preparing to leave everything to, the ones who were supposed to inherit the empire, the assets, the influence, the power, the legacy built over decades. People they considered close. People they treated like their own. People they believed would carry their work forward. But instead, these were the ones plotting to destroy them. My child, imagine the pain that hit them in that moment. Imagine how it felt to realize the people eating at their table were the same ones sharpening knives behind their back. Imagine the weight of betrayal, the heaviness of truth crashing down on them like a storm with no mercy. Their hands tightened around the phone. Their heart began racing. Every memory with those people twisted into something dark. Every shared smile turned into a mask hiding treachery. And right there, right in the middle of that emotional collapse, they saw your face in their mind. The way you spoke truth even when it was uncomfortable. The loyalty you carried without asking for anything in return. The strength and sincerity you held even when life pushed you down. The purity of heart they always admired in you. They realized something in that moment: you were the only one who had never taken from them. You were the only one who had never plotted against them. You were the only one who had never expected anything in return for your kindness. You were the one they believed would protect what they built, not destroy it. My child, they did not choose you out of desperation. They chose you out of conviction. They chose you out of trust. They chose you out of a deep knowing that you were the rightful heir, even if you never asked for it. But then came the most critical part. In the message, the investigator warned them, "They know you're aware. They are moving faster than expected. You must act immediately. You don't have time." My child, do you understand what this means? The betrayers found out that their secrets were being exposed. They panicked. They accelerated their plans. They made moves that signaled danger was coming quickly. Those words weren't just a warning. They were a countdown. And this person knew one thing: if they stayed silent, it would end badly. If they hid their will, it would be destroyed. If they kept your name in secret, those enemies would erase every trace of it. So they did the one thing their enemies would never expect. They posted their will online. Not to show off. Not to cause drama. Not to shock the world. But to protect the truth. Because once the will was public, once your name was visible to millions, it could not be erased. It could not be hidden. It could not be altered in secret. Your position was sealed. Your name was documented. Your role was locked in the eyes of the world. They believed, if anything happens to me, the world will already know my final choice. But my child, in their attempt to protect you and the legacy, they also exposed you to a level of danger you were never meant to face. Because the moment your name appeared in that will, people who never cared about you began whispering your name. People who wanted power felt threatened by you. People who envied you began watching you. People who had never noticed your existence suddenly became obsessed with knowing who you are. The quiet life you had evaporated. The discreet spiritual protection you lived under became a shield you now need actively. The enemies they feared are now aware of you too. My child, this was not an accident. This was not a coincidence. This was not random. This was a spiritual appointment. A heavenly alignment. A divine restructuring. A shift that had been waiting beneath the surface of your life for far too long. But now, I must reveal the part you have been sensing but have not yet fully understood. Because the danger you face is not just physical. Not just emotional. Not just situational. There is a spiritual counterpart to this attack. The moment your name was made visible in the will, a signal went out into the unseen realm. A signal that alerted forces that have been lingering but waiting for the right moment to strike. The same forces that whispered into the hearts of your enemies. The same spirits that fueled betrayal. The same darkness that wanted to end them. Now turned their gaze toward you. But listen to me, my child. They have turned their gaze, but they do not have access. They have noticed you, but they do not have authority. They are watching you, but they cannot touch what I have placed my hand upon. And you are not alone in this battle. Not for a single moment. Because as those plotted against you in the shadows, something else was happening in the heavens. A countermove. A divine response. A spiritual intervention. My child, now that you know why your name was placed in that will, now that the truth of betrayal has been uncovered, now that you understand how your life became intertwined with a storm you did not create, it's time to reveal the next layer of this story. A layer that explains the danger, the motives, the spiritual activity, and the reason I am stepping in so forcefully for you. Remember, the will went public. Your name became visible. And the people who wanted power realized the door they were fighting to control now leads right to you. From that moment onward, the spiritual atmosphere around your name shifted. The enemies who once thought they were fighting only one person suddenly saw you as an obstacle. Someone they needed to remove. Someone who unknowingly stood in their way. Someone they believed they could intimidate, silence, or break. But what they don't know, and what you are about to learn, is that heaven anticipated their steps long before they made them. My child, let me pull back the curtain. Let me show you what happened the very moment your name appeared in that public document. Because while people on earth were scrolling through that post, whispering, questioning, and reacting, something began moving in the invisible realm. Shadows stirred. Whispers grew louder. Eyes that had been dormant opened. Forces that wished to remain hidden rose up with new aggression. The same spiritual influence that whispered betrayal into those conspirators. The same darkness that nudged them to plan destruction. The same evil that tried to end the life of the one who named you in the will. Turned its focus on you. But hear this clearly, my child, just because darkness looks at you, does not mean it can touch you. Because while the enemy took one step forward, heaven took 10 steps ahead. Let me tell you what happened, in detail. The moment your name was displayed publicly, the adversary panicked. They knew they had lost control. They knew the story they were trying to manipulate had slipped out of their hands. They knew the will, the legacy, the empire, the inheritance, all of it, had been placed in a position they could no longer twist. And the spiritual forces they had been entertaining began pushing them harder. Stop this before it's too late. Remove the one who stands in your way. Destroy the future before it unfolds. Silence the chosen one before they rise. These whispers weren't imagined. They weren't symbolic. They weren't exaggerated. They were real. And the people who had been plotting quietly, now shifted into a posture of urgency. They began watching your social media. Checking your movements. Asking questions. Studying your habits. Trying to understand who you are, what you know, and what your next step might be. But while they were studying you, heaven was surrounding you. My child, I dispatched angels the moment your name became exposed. Not small guardians. Not passive watchers. I sent warriors. Warriors who do not sleep. Warriors who do not hesitate. Warriors who stand at the edge of your destiny with swords drawn. Warriors whose presence makes demons flee before a blow is even struck. And while your enemies whisper in dark corners, my angels stand in the open, unshaken, unbothered, unstoppable. Right now, as you hear this, there are angels positioned, at your door. At your windows. Around your vehicle. Beside your bed. Over your mind. Surrounding your spirit. Circling the path of your future. Your enemies are planning, but they are planning against a hedge they cannot breach. They are talking, but their words will collapse before they reach you. They are plotting, but every plan is being dismantled before it even forms completely. Because I have drawn a line they cannot cross. A line of fire. A line of authority. A line marked by my word. My child, do you remember what I said? No weapon formed against you shall prosper. The weapon may form. The weapon may be polished. The weapon may be lifted. The weapon may even be aimed at your life. But it will never accomplish what they intended. Because I do not allow the plans of darkness to prosper over those I have chosen. And make no mistake, you have been chosen. Not just chosen by the person who wrote that will. Chosen by me. You are not an accident. You are not a coincidence. You are not a random name that slipped into a legacy. You are a strategic placement in a divine timeline. My child, let me reveal something hidden. The inheritance you were given, the one others wanted, wasn't really chosen by them. It wasn't their decision. It wasn't their idea. It was mine. I guided their heart toward you. I positioned you where you needed to be. I allowed certain people to walk away. I exposed certain hearts. I thinned out the crowd of pretenders. I cleared out the jealous ones. I removed those who sought power for themselves. So when the time came to choose, there was only one name that carried the weight of truth. Yours. You weren't chosen by accident. You were chosen by design. Chosen by destiny. Chosen because your spirit carries strength you haven't even discovered yet. But now, my child, it's time to open your eyes even further. Because while I am protecting you from the dangers around you, I am also preparing you for the breakthrough that is coming your way. My child, as the enemies watched you, as shadows whispered your name, as darkness tried to rise against you, you need to understand something even deeper, something that has been unfolding quietly beneath all the chaos, something that connects everything I told you in part 3 with the breakthrough that is now approaching your life. Because while those forces were studying you, I was preparing something for you. Yes, my child, at the very same moment that darkness began to take interest in your name, heaven began moving in ways you never imagined. The same second those enemies leaned in to observe you, my angels stepped forward with greater force. And while they were plotting their next step, I was shaping your next season. You see, my beloved child, the protection I placed around you in part 3 was not the final action, it was the foundation. It was the preparation for what I am about to release into your life. The hedge I built, the angels I assigned, the plans I dismantled, the traps I scattered, all of it was to create a safe path for what comes next. Because I did not surround you with warriors just to protect you from danger. I surrounded you to escort you into destiny. Everything happening around you, the betrayal, the exposure, the shifting of relationships, the sudden pressure, the unexpected tension, all of it is tied to what I have ordained for your future. Nothing is random. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is meaningless. What the enemy tried to use to intimidate you, I am using to elevate you. What they intended to use to weaken your spirit, I am using to strengthen your purpose. What they planned behind closed doors, I am turning into the very proof that you were meant to rise. My child, listen, the same forces that circled you in darkness did so because they sensed something coming for you that you didn't see yet. They felt a blessing approaching your life long before you did. They saw a shift in your spiritual identity before you were aware of it. They recognized your appointment before your eyes were fully opened. The reason the attacks increased is because your elevation is near. The reason the pressure intensified is because your breakthrough has already been released. The reason your name suddenly became important to your enemies is because your purpose suddenly became visible in the heavenly realm. And now, my child, it is time for you to understand the real reason you were chosen, not just by the person who wrote that will, but by me. You were chosen not to replace someone. You were chosen to continue something. You were not selected to simply inherit wealth. You were selected to carry a mantle. You were not placed into that will by coincidence. You were placed because destiny required your name to appear at that exact moment. The person who named you did not know the full spiritual picture. They did not see the angels I assigned. They did not see the season opening ahead of you. They did not see the divine alignment forming under the surface. All they felt was the tug in their spirit to choose you, a tug that came from me. While the enemy prepared darkness around your path, I was preparing light ahead of you. While they researched your weaknesses, I was unlocking doors tied to your purpose. While they searched for ways to stop you, I was writing a chapter they cannot alter. And while they whispered curses in the shadows, I spoke blessings over your life that cannot be undone. My child, you are stepping into a season where everything that was meant to crush you will serve as confirmation that you were always chosen. The inheritance written under your name is not just material, it is spiritual. It is favor. It is influence. It is authority. It is identity. And now, because you endured the pressure, because you survived the spiritual attention, because you did not collapse under the weight of what was happening behind your back, something powerful is about to unfold. The doors that were locked will open suddenly. The blessings that were delayed will accelerate. The opportunities that disappeared will return multiplied. The people who walked away will be replaced by better ones. The situations that drained you will be reversed. The heaviness you've been carrying will break off at once. My child, you were not chosen because of what you have, you were chosen because of who you are. You carry a strength that cannot be faked. You carry a heart that cannot be corrupted. You carry a destiny that cannot be delayed. You carry a purpose that cannot be stolen. Everything that fought you in the past season fought you because it knew this moment was coming, this elevation, this recognition, this spiritual upgrade, this unfolding of blessings that have been waiting for you. And now, as the final part of this message, I tell you, lift your spirit. Straighten your shoulders. Stand in the truth of who you are. You are protected. You are surrounded. You are strengthened. You are chosen. You are rising. The inheritance written under your name will reach you. The destiny designed for you will find you. The blessing prepared for you will not pass you by. This is not the end. This is not the middle. This is the beginning of the season you were built for. Walk forward, my child. Heaven goes with you.